I made a prediction that turned out to be dead wrong. I predicted that Chris Cuomo would eventually be brought back by CNN because the phrase they used to describe him being axed is indefinitely suspended. And those are weasel words. Those are weasel words for he ain't fired. We're going to put him on the bench for a while and bring him back. Now, the other piece of evidence for that argument is the fact that they brought back Jeffrey Skeeter Toobin. Jeffrey Toobin beat off on a Zoom call with other CNN employees there and accidentally left his camera on, was caught doing it, and homeboy was brought back like in 3 months or some shit. I might be getting that the timing wrong in terms of how soon they brought him back, but they brought him back. They brought him back, which is crazy to me. So what ended up happening with Chris Cuomo is that he did finally get fired. CNN released a new statement a couple days later, and they're like, yeah, he's fired, he's done, he's out. But the reasoning is not what you think, so take a look at this. Attorneys for a former CNN employee ready to provide the network with evidence that then-host Chris Cuomo had engaged in sexual misconduct before he was fired over the weekend. The New York Times reported that the attorney Debra S. Katz had informed CNN of the allegation on Wednesday. The network fired Cuomo on Saturday, citing his defense of his brother, former governor. They didn't fire him. They indefinitely suspended him. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who has been accused of sexual misconduct. In a statement released on Sunday, Katz revealed that her client had offered to provide CNN with evidence of Cuomo's sexual misconduct on Friday before he was fired. By Friday, I was in discussions with CNN about providing documentary evidence of my client's allegations and making my client available for an interview with CNN's outside counsel, Katz said in a statement. Last night, CNN acted promptly on my client's complaint and fired Mr. Cuomo. So, let me explain what went down here. They nominally indefinitely suspended him for information that he was basically doing oppo research on his brother's accusers, using his connections to get more information, to get ahead of the story. He was helping his brother craft the responses. So he was very, very directly involved with playing defense for his brother when his brother's a politician and he is supposed to be a journalist or a reporter. So he's not doing his job. He's not giving facts and information and news and serving the public and telling people information. What he's doing is just rank political hatchet job for his Democratic governor brother. So he was indefinitely suspended when the details came out that he was more involved than he pretended to be early on. Okay. But he was fired because during the indefinite suspension, somebody went to CNN and said, actually, Chris Cuomo is doing some Me Too shit as well, and I have evidence of it. And then CNN was like, okay, well, what are we going to do now? We're going to let him go. By the way, there was a Me Too story about Chris Cuomo that came out a little while ago that didn't land as much as I thought it would. There wasn't as big, it wasn't as big of a story as you would have expected, but apparently he was at some party and he grabbed one of his former coworkers' asses in front of that coworker's husband, and then he ended up writing an apology email later saying, I'm sorry, I got too excited, didn't mean anything by it, blah, blah, blah. So homeboy was grabbing booty in front of his former coworker's husband, and he thought like nothing of it, and then later on he apologized and sent an email. So that story leaked, so it was sort of like a Me Too thing for him there, but it was barely a blip in the radar to my surprise. I thought that story would land more. Now, I don't know if this story that they're talking about is the same Me Too event where the person's going to provide evidence of that, or it's just a totally separate Me Too event. My guess is it's a separate Me Too event, because look, what you find with this stuff is if the accusations are real, it's never just one thing, because there's always a pattern. Because if somebody does it and gets away with it, then they're the type of person that's going to keep doing it. So that's why whenever you hear, allegations of the sort, it's like a dam breaking effect, where there's a drip, drip, and then all of a sudden there's a fucking tsunami that comes because there's 20, 30, 40 examples of this sort of stuff. And so that's what happened with Andrew Cuomo. Now, to be fair, some of the allegations against Andrew Cuomo were not legitimate, but I listened to the details of all of them, and there's no doubt that a lot of them were totally legitimate. And so it looks like Chris Cuomo was involved in a similar type of behavior. And what happened was he was already indefinitely suspended, and then when you got another Me Too allegation against Chris Cuomo, They were like, this is more of a headache than we're willing to handle for the guy. And so they fired him. And so he's gone. So there you have it. Now, the fact of the matter is, and you guys know this because in the last segment on Chris Cuomo, we talked about this. It should have never gotten to this place in the first place. Chris Cuomo used to have Andrew Cuomo on his show during the height of COVID early on. And he would just do nothing but throw him softballs down the center of the plate and portray him like America's greatest governor, and was giving him nothing but credit and accolades. And, Andrew Cuomo's approval rating at the time was very high. He was given these like daily COVID briefings, and people thought he's a leader and he's in control. Well, come to find out, he was making horrendous decisions behind the scenes. He was allowing COVID-positive nursing home patients back into the nursing home, which led to COVID to spread through nursing homes like wildfire, killing countless, older folks in New York. They were rigging the numbers and keeping them lower than what they actually were. This is a guy who not only was involved with terrible COVID decision-making, he was writing a book about how he defeated COVID while he wasn't defeating COVID. And he was making terrible decisions. I mean, just egregious stuff. Then there's all the corruption scandals. One of his top aides went down for corruption. They used the wrong supplies on a bridge in New York and then tried to cover it up. I mean, the list goes on and on of all the terrible things this guy was involved in. Created an anti-corruption commission. Then when that commission looked into him and his allies, he axed the commission. He disbanded the commission. It's just a total political hack. So, look, if you're going to have him on your show, Chris Cuomo, when he's flying high and everybody likes the guy and there's all this propaganda on his side, well, then you have a moral obligation when the shit hits the fan to talk about it. To talk about the negative aspects of it, because they're facts and it's information and it's news and it's important and you need to educate your audience. Now, this is where people say, yeah, but you have a loyalty to your brother above all else because you have a loyalty to your family above all else. To which I respond, fair enough. Step down. Get off your CNN show. If you really want to choose your family over your professional responsibility, then choose your family over your professional responsibility. Step down. Say, look, I'm in no position to do this. I have a conflict of interest. That's obvious. And so I can't do my job effectively. So I'm out. That's it. And he didn't do that. He went from giving him nothing but positive coverage. And then when the shit hit the fan, it's like, oh, I can't talk about my brother because I have a conflict of interest. Well, if you had a conflict of interest, you also had it when you were doing propaganda for him, and you shouldn't have done the propaganda for him. Duh. So anyway, gone. Chris Cuomo's out, but it's not for the reason you think. I think they were planning on bringing him back, right along with Jeffrey Skeeter Toobin. But when you got more Me Too allegations, they were like, okay, what are we going to do? This is one too many things, and now he's out ski. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.